Two brand new flagship Android devices were announced recently, the Galaxy S7 and the LG G5. Both are very similar in certain respects, but also very different. So let's quickly give a kind of a comparison between the two devices. So, like I said, they're both very similar in the sense they're both going to be running Android 6.0 Marshmallow when they come out. They both are going to have Snapdragon 820 processors, and they both have 4 gigs of RAM. The differences start to come in a little bit of other ways besides just pure performance. So first of all, just screens. Both devices are going to be using QHD displays. The LG G5, however, is going to be 5.3 inches, and the S7 is going to be 5.1 inches. Now, just so you know, the S7 Edge is going to be 5.5 inches, but have the same specs that we previously discussed. Where we start to see differentiation the first time is camera tech. So LG and Samsung tried to look at this in a little bit of different ways. Samsung on the S7 and S7 Edge decided they would go with a 12 megapixel sensor. They're going with that has an f1.7 stop with larger pixels and optical image stabilization. That's the way they try to attack camera problems and attack camera improvements, I should say, by improving the camera tech, going for larger pixels, getting better low light performance. LG went about it a little bit differently. On the front, they have just a standard 8 megapixel wide angle camera similar to that on the Samsung device, but on the back there are actually 2 camera lenses. The first one is a standard 16 megapixel shooter that has a normal degree of range, so 78 degrees, which is about normal. The other sensor is actually an 8 megapixel camera that uses 135 degrees that can take in pictures at 135 degrees, which is pretty wide angle. So that's kind of the different ways they went about it. LG kind of thought, camera tech is pretty good already. What can we do besides trying to improve the nitty gritty? Well, let's see if we can, use multiple sensors to capture more content. It's an interesting approach. We'll have to see how these two perform when the devices come out to see exactly how camera quality compares. But that is a major difference between the two. Now, the other major difference is the Galaxy S7 is water and dust proof at IP68 rating, which is pretty good. It can be submerged in a couple feet of water for like 30 minutes or something like that. So if you had issues where you were using maybe at the pool and you're wet when you're using it, not a big deal at all. Certainly you're not going to go diving with it, but it's a nice improvement to not just destroy your phone if it's raining out or you drop it in a puddle or something like that. The approach that LG took was much different. They went with a device that's modular. So the bottom pops out, you can take the battery out and swap with other batteries if you want to. But you can now plug in different modules to get further expandability. This is really interesting because obviously the S7 has great specs, but once you get it, that's it. This modular option allows you more expandability, which is something we haven't seen before. So some of the modules that they announced was the Cam Plus, which extends the battery capacity and gives you dedicated camera buttons. It's like you can click it like a DSLR supposedly. There's also a couple audio ones. There's one that allows you to control a small robot that has a camera on it that can roll around. You can control it over Wi-Fi. Really the interesting thing to me is the 360 cam and the Cam Plus. Those are showing you expanded functionality that out of the box maybe your phone can't do, but a year down the road when there's better camera tech available, instead of having to buy a new device, you can pop in a module and get that functionality. Really very interesting. So that's kind of the last differentiators between the two. I kind of forgot about battery life real quick. The S7 has a 3,000 milliamp hour battery, the S7 Edge a 3,600 milliamp hour battery. The LG G5 went lower than that with 2,800 milliamp hours, but again, it's kind of interesting because you could have expandability both with having removable batteries that you can swap and also having modules that provide extra battery life. So those are kind of the differences and comparisons between the Samsung S7 and the LG G5. Performance-wise, they're going to be very, very similar. Screen tech is going to be very similar. Battery life will be similar, but there are some pretty significant deviations in camera tech, in waterproofing, and in the expandability. So, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to click subscribe below to stay up to date on the latest and greatest videos from my channel.